Welcome to the YouTube channel ePathshala. My name is Ramakrishna, Faculty of English. Yesterday we learned diary entry under creative expression. Today let us continue diary entry. Yesterday we learned only what is a diary, what are the things to be mentioned in the diary. But today let us learn what are the features of the diary. Every discourse has some features. Similarly, diary is having some features, some salient features, some important features to be remembered to write it. First feature is expression of personal reflections, thoughts and feelings. As I already taught you in the earlier class that diary is a personal writing. One has to express one's own feelings, ideas, emotions of the day. So that we should express our personal feelings, personal emotions, reflections of the day in the diary. That is the first feature of the diary writing. Have you understood? Now, shall go for second feature of the diary is use of variety of sentences. What is the use of variety of sentences? Do you know we have four kinds of sentences? So, when you communicate with other people, when you write something, we use those four kinds of sentences regularly, very frequently. So, using all these four kinds of sentences can make your writing more beautiful. So, to make your writing in diary beautiful, you should use four kinds of sentences like assertive, exclamatory, interrogative and imperative sentences when the situation demands. Whenever there is a necessity, you should use all those four kinds of sentences. That is the second salient feature of the writing a diary. Now, when you go for a third one, use of language appropriate to the mood. What is the language here? What sort of language do we use while writing a diary? Yesterday, we come to know that we use a colloquial language, an informal language to express our feelings to the diary. But here, this third point doesn't mean that it is an informal language. Here, for suppose you are in a happy mood, something happened very happy, that makes you very happy that day. But here, when you write in a diary, your language should not represent sadness when you are in a happy mood. You are in a happy mood, but you write a language which represents sadness. You should not write the language which represents sadness. In the same way, you are in a sad mood. Something bad happened to you. It was a very bad day for you. You come across something bad. But your language should not express your happiness when you are in a sad mood. That is very, very important. So that is third point. Use of language appropriate to the writers. Who is the writer here? You are the writer. Your mood should be expressed in such a beautiful language. So that you use a language according to your mood. That is very, very important point. And now coming to the fourth point, self-criticism and future plans. What is a self-criticism? What is a criticism? So here, self-criticism is nothing but you should criticize yourself for being something wrong in the day. Here, basically, nobody wants to criticize themselves. It's a common fact. It's a universal truth. They don't want to criticize themselves, but they always try to criticize others' mistakes. Am I correct or not? It's absolutely. We wanted to criticize others' mistakes. But here, when you express your feelings to the diary, you should be very honest. As we talked about in the previous class, we already spoke about that point. We should be very sincere and honest to write your feelings to the diary, so that you should criticize yourself for being wrong. And try to make a future plans. For suppose, generally we know that when you commit a mistake, you committed a mistake in the examination. Do you want to commit the same mistake in the coming examination? No. We don't want to commit the mistake which we had already committed in the previous examination. We just wanted to avoid that mistake. Am I correct or not? That is a decision. That is a future plans. You should take a decision which, and next, last but not least, a point of time. Point of time. Point of time in the sense of the idea, the thought that you would like to express to the diary, it should not be deviated. It should not be deviated. In the initial class, in the first class, we come to know that you should not write all the points of all the happenings of the day. You should take some important points only, some important matters only, or some important events only. The event that makes you happy, the event that makes you sad, that point should be written in the diary, so that that idea or that thought should not be deviated. That is the point of view. Okay, and finally the last point is coherence. Coherence is nothing but a logical connection. From morning to evening, whatever the things happen, all these things should be arranged in a chronological order by using some cohesive devices. What are the cohesive devices? Cohesive devices are like sincerely, nextly, firstly, secondly, while, during, although, even though. See, these are some linkers. These are some linkers which connect all the points from morning to evening in a chronological order. Now, coming to what do we write and how do we write a diary? What do we write? How do we write a diary? So, this is the format of writing a diary. Firstly, we should write day and date. Day and date in the diary. Second one, time. Here, basically, everybody writes their diaries at the end of the day. At the end of the day, either evening time or in the night time. So that is, you should mention the time of the writing a day. And now salutation. Salutation here is an optional. You may write salutation or you may omit salutation. For suppose if you think that you are expressing something to the diary, you think a diary is a person. If you would like to give a respect to the diary, you should use a salutation, dear diary. So as we use salutation in informal letters like dear father, dear mother, dear sister, in such a way you should also use a salutation, dear diary. And now coming to the body of the diary. So in the same way as letter, we have a body of the letter. In such a way there is a body of the letter, even body of the diary, even to the diary. So this body of the diary is also having 3 tenses. Let us learn later. And finally, the diary entry ends with the signature. But here, these are the things that are to be written in the diary. So, these are the things that are mentioned in the diary. But how should we write a diary? Here, we write a diary using first person I narrative. Because I is a narrative person. Who is the narrator here? You are the narrator. So I represent you. So that you should use always first persons like I, me, my, mine. So these are the first person pronouns. So we should use first person pronouns because we are describing ourselves. We are describing what happened ourselves to the diary. So that we should use first persons like I, me, mine, my, mine. Okay, what tense is supposed to use? What sort of tense we should use to write a diary? Firstly, when you start a diary, the first and foremost tense that you should use is simple present tense. Because you start a diary with momentary note. That momentary note should be in the simple present tense. For suppose today something good happened to you. You should express your feelings in such a good way. Today is the most happy yesterday in my life. So that is a momentary note. That is a momentary tense. Or today something bad happened to you. You should express your sadness in the first line itself in the body of the diary. Today is one of the most saddest days in my life. Today is the most unforgettable day in my life. So that is how you should start a diary with a simple present tense in the body of the diary. Coming to the past tense. Here, after that line, after using first line in simple present tense, when you wanted to narrate something, what happened that day, that all the points should be written in the past tense, simple past tense, because simple past tense represent, simple past tense indicate past actions. You are writing to the diary, you are expressing something what happened earlier, that means past actions. So that simple past tense represent past actions, so that you should write, you should use simple past tense. And coming to the last one, you should use present perfect tense. You should use present perfect, just completed things. You try to describe, you try to narrate, or you try to express to the diary in both simple past tense and present perfect tense, because we use present perfect tense only to indicate just completed things. Just completed things. Now, coming to the format of the diary. So, what is the format of the diary? So, in which way do we write diary? So, as I already told you that we should write to day, date, time, salutation, body of the diary, signatures. These are the points. But where we should write in the paper? Where we should write in the book? So, firstly, at the top of the right corner, we should write date and day and time. When you write a diary, you should mention that particular time, either evening time or a night time. That time should be mentioned here. These two things should be mentioned at the top of the right corner in the diary. Now, coming to the salutation. If you wanted to give a respect to the diary, you think that diary is a person, that you wanted to give a respect to the diary, you should use a salutation, dear diary. As we use salutation when you write personal letters to the parents, friends, relatives, all these things we use. If you wanted to write a letter to your father, dear mother, dear sister, like that. In such a way, you should use a salutation, dear diary, and there you always use a comma after salutation, whether in the letter writing, even in the diary entry. Whenever you use a salutation, it is followed by a comma. Right? Now, coming to the content. Content is nothing but the body of the diary. Body of the diary. This content can be divided into 3 stages, 3 ways. First one is introduction. In the introduction, you should use a momentary tense. That should be in simple present tense. For suppose the day is very happy, you should express your happiness in the first line itself in the introductory paragraph. That is a momentary line, momentary note. In the momentary note, you should use simple present tense. Just like, today is the most important day in my life. Today is most unforgettable day in my life. So that is a momentary line in the introductory part. That momentary line in the introductory part should be written in the simple present tense. Okay, have you understood? Now we shall go for next one. That is experience of the day. This experience of the day can be written in the past tense. It is simple past tense. We should use whether simple past tense or present perfect tense. So, what is the thing happened that day? It is related to the past tense. So that in the experience of the day, you should describe that experience of the day using past tense, especially simple past tense and present perfect tense. And the last part of the body of the diary is future plans. For suppose you have committed a mistake today, so you took a decision that you would not like to create the same mistake or commit the same mistake, so that whatever the things that you would like to do in the future, that things must be written by using a future tense. Have you understood? So these are the different tense. First one is simple past tense. First one is simple present tense. Second one is past, especially simple past tense, and future tense or future plans are a decision that are to be written by using a future tense. And finally, writing a diary ends with the signature. You should keep your signature. You sign, you write your name at the end of the body of the diary. At the end of the body of the diary. This is a format of writing a diary. This is how we should write a diary, and these are some salient features. This is the format of writing a diary. If you like this, if you like this class, if you like this video, to please subscribe share. Thank you one and all.